What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be going over what it was like for me living in Orlando, Florida compared to what it's like currently living here in Henderson, which is the southeast area of Las Vegas. All right, so like I said, guys, we're going to be comparing my experience living in Orlando, Florida, where I lived for over 23 years of my life, compared to my current experience living here in Las Vegas. Now, I've only lived in Las Vegas for the past 12 months, but I feel like I have a good enough experience over the last year to give you some insight on what I've experienced and just comparing it to living in Orlando. So before we get into it, guys, please consider subscribing down below and clicking the little notification bell. That way you never miss out when I post a new video. And if you're coming back from a previous video, click that thumbs up button for me down below. Okay, so we're gonna be comparing the big three is what I'm gonna call it in this video. And that's gonna be comparing the weather, the cost of living, and the transportation in each city, and just breaking down which one I think is better. And then you guys can kind of make your own conclusion on which one you prefer. And we're first gonna start off with the weather. Now in Orlando, the weather is very humid. It gets very hot. It's pretty hot year round, and it does rain a lot. You get thunderstorms, you get lightning, and overall there's just more cloudiness. With that humidity becomes stickiness. So that is the main weather that you're gonna find in Florida. It's a tropical climate. There's a lot of swampland. It's surrounded by water. So it is naturally going to be more humid. I remember living back there in Christmas time, and it would still be 85 during Christmas. Also in the summers, it's pretty much going to rain every single day. And the rain pattern is very weird. It could be raining on one side of the road and not the other. And just overall, it's not going to rain typically for very long during the day. What it'll do is it'll rain for maybe 30 minutes, an hour. Sometimes it's longer. It's not always going to be a short rain, of course, but it rains for a little bit. The sun comes back out, it beats up, and all that water rises, and that's where you get even higher levels of humidity. So overall, the weather there is going to be a tropical, humid climate. Living here in Las Vegas, what I've experienced and what is well known is that it's a very dry heat. So a lot of times people from Florida or the East Coast, anywhere in the Northeast, even in the Midwest, even over in California, they'll look at the weather and they'll see that it's 105, 103. And they'll think that it's just brutal and it's unbearable. And I'm not gonna tell you that it's not hot. It is hot, but it's a very different heat. Because it's a dry heat, what happens is your sweat is already evaporating pretty much the second that you actually start to sweat. So you're not going to necessarily feel as hot as you would versus say in Florida, where you're sweating your ass off and you're just getting drenched and you have the sun beating on you. You're gonna feel a lot more hot when it comes to that aspect. So the thing with the dry heat is if you're not used to it, sometimes you'll get nosebleeds initially. You do have to adjust to it. And the biggest thing is just staying hydrated. Because you're not sweating, you're oftentimes not even gonna realize how hot it actually is. And the dehydration and the effects of a heat stroke, overheating, etc., can kick in very, very fast. 1 minute you're perfectly fine, the next minute you're just lightheaded, you're dizzy, you have to stop, you have to find shade, and hopefully you have water nearby. That's one thing I would suggest is if you are going to be outside, definitely have water with you at all times. Now, the thing that I will say in aspect comparison to Florida is you actually do get seasons here in Las Vegas, and a lot of people just think that it's just hot year round, and that's not the case at all. It's pretty much only hot during the summer months, which is June, July, August, and in September it starts to start cooling back down. The other 8 to 9 months of the year are actually very nice. They're around 70 degrees, 80 degrees, some in the 60s. Like last year we even had some snow in February. So you're gonna get a variety of weather living here in Las Vegas, which is very different compared to Florida, where it's pretty much hot year round. It does cool off, but it's pretty much, like I said, hot year round. You have very, very few cool days or cold days. I remember growing up there as a kid, it would be like amazing to be able to, take your hoodie on. It was like something we looked forward to be able to wear our hoodies because we just almost never were able to. So in regards to weather, I would say that I definitely prefer the weather here in Las Vegas. That's just my personal opinion about the weather. That's my personal preference. Some people hate the dry heat and they would rather be in a tropical climate. That's totally up to you, and it's gonna vary for each person, but hopefully that helps clear up the difference between the two. And just to expand a little bit in the weather category. This is just gonna go over the outdoor life. I know this is something that a lot of people have questions about. So this isn't necessarily related 100% to the weather, but I just wanted to throw this in there really quickly to give you guys a little bit more of information about the outdoor life. So in Florida, you're gonna have a lot of beaches, you're gonna have a lot of greenery. Here in Las Vegas, it's obviously a desert, so it's gonna be drier, but you're gonna have more hiking options, you're gonna have more biking trails, you're gonna have more hiking, whereas if you live in Orlando, there's not really anywhere to hike because it's basically flat everywhere you go. And I noticed that when I was there, the best thing really was there's like rivers that you can go on. You go to like Wekiva River, you can go to different lakes, you can go to different beaches. But as far as the outdoor life, I would say that there's definitely a lot more variety here in Las Vegas. So the next area we're gonna cover is the transportation, and we're just gonna start with Orlando. Some things to be aware of is the traffic is very bad. It's not LA bad, but it's pretty bad for a medium-sized city. I wouldn't say it's a small city, I wouldn't say it's a big city. It's growing very rapidly, so right now I'd rank it as a medium-sized city. They're doing a lot of construction on the main interstate, which is Interstate 4. I think the city is just not built very well as far as the highway system goes. There's one main highway that goes, it's east and west, but it kind of really goes north and south. It goes almost like a southwest to northeast. So it's kind of weird the way it's laid out, but there is other roads there as well to get you around, but most of them are going to be toll roads. You have the 408, which runs east and west, and then you have the 417, which runs north and south. So there is ways to avoid the main freeway. You can also use the side streets, but for the most part, I feel like the city just isn't set up very well. Hopefully the improvements that they're doing on the interstate right now will help alleviate a lot of the problems and the traffic that are going on. But I know the middle lanes that they're inserting are also going to be toll lanes. So there's gonna be a lot more toll roads when it comes to living in Orlando. Now they do get you around a lot faster. So if you don't mind paying the tolls, just be aware, you know, you could be paying $5, $6, $7, $8 a day, possibly, depending on your toll usage, or even more, just to get around. So it does add up, and it's just something to be aware of, that if you're wanting to get around the city in a very fast, efficient way, I would recommend the toll roads. We also have the 528, which runs all the way to the coastline on the East Coast to Cocoa Beach. So those are the transportation things to look out for Orlando. I would definitely recommend having a car in the city because, again, it's super spread out. Unless you live right where you work, you're gonna have a very hard time actually getting around in the city. It's not like here in Las Vegas where you can live close to the Strip and you have everything really close by. I would highly recommend having a vehicle living in Orlando, or just living super close to where you work and spend most of your time, so that you don't have to rely on Uber, Lyft, or a bus system to get around. So now we're gonna get into the transportation here in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is a much smaller city. You can go from one end to the other in about 35, maybe 40 miles. And the traffic here is just not nearly as bad. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that there's no traffic here, because there definitely is traffic, especially around your normal times, you know, 3 to 6, 3 to 7, 4 to 7. And anywhere you get near the Strip, Las Vegas Boulevard, you are always going to have traffic on that street. You're always gonna have people blocking lanes and just getting in the way of you just getting around. So there definitely is traffic here. I would not say it's nearly as bad though as living in Orlando. I've been able to get around a lot quicker here and more efficiently. There's also not any toll roads to my knowledge here in Las Vegas. If there is, correct me down in the comments below, but I personally have not seen a single toll road here. So that's actually a really nice addition if you're trying to get around. Pretty much anywhere that you go, you're gonna be able to just get around without actually paying extra to be able to move around the city. And the big question that I get is, can I move here without a car? I get this question over and over and over from you guys on Instagram DMs and just sending me messages inquiring about moving here. I would highly recommend you have a car, or you live very close to where you work. If you live on the west side of town, I've heard that the bus system is really great. You also have the option to use Uber and Lyft to get around, but keep in mind, if you're gonna be using that service 5 days a week and you have to go from, say, Henderson to Summerlin, you're gonna be paying way more than a car payment. So just evaluate all your options before you move here. Try to live as close to where you work, or just get a car if you can. So the last thing we're gonna cover is the cost of living comparison. We're gonna go over how much basically it costs to live for renting an apartment or a home or whatever you're looking to do. We're gonna go over the tax differences between Las Vegas and Orlando as far as the sales tax, the state income taxes, etc. and just overall what I think is more affordable and who should be moving to what city. So we're gonna start off with the cost of housing. This is the biggest cost behind taxes for most people. And yes, taxes are a big cost. A lot of people don't realize it because it just comes out of your check and most of you don't see it. But taxes are one of the biggest costs that you pay over the course of a year. So with your housing, I have found that living in Las Vegas, you can get much cheaper housing than living in Orlando. Now, they used to be pretty neck and neck, but over time, Orlando, there's just a lot of people moving to Florida. Right now, I think a lot of people from California are moving there, and it's just caused everything to go up. It's the same thing that's happening here in Las Vegas. People are moving and prices are going up. So the cost of living that I've found personally for a 1-bedroom apartment, you're gonna be looking anywhere from like $1,250, $1,300 is what I found for like a decent place to live. You can of course find things cheaper. You can of course find things higher, but I would say the average range for a 1-bedroom apartment currently in Orlando, as of this video in June 2019, is roughly that price. Compared to when you look here in Las Vegas, I would say it's roughly around $1,100 on average. Now again, this is for what I would consider a decent place. For you, it might be lower. For you, it may be higher. You're gonna have to do your research. You're gonna have to pull up apartments. You're gonna have to look for places to live. This is just from what I've found from looking myself. So it is overall cheaper to live here for your housing. Now, with that being said, overall, I would say the jobs probably pay around the same amount. And honestly, this comes down to your skills. You know, it's not that one place pays better really than the other. It's what type of job are you doing? How much experience do you have? Do you have a degree? Can you offer skills to make that company more money? You know, what skills are you going in with? Because if you don't have very many skills and you're just working in entry-level jobs, such as a front desk, a greeter, a customer service, obviously you're not gonna be making much money. But if you have management skills, supervisor skills, accounting skills, marketing skills, those type of things are gonna make you more money. So I wouldn't say that one area necessarily pays more than the other. I think it's more about what can you offer that business, because in terms of the actual pay rates, it's gonna be pretty equivalent. And as far as the state income tax, guys, both of these states, there's no state income tax. So if you're coming from one of the other states in the country, I think like 44, 45, I don't know how many states have a state income tax, to be honest, but I know most states have a state income tax. So if you're living in Nevada or you're living in Florida, it doesn't matter. You're gonna file your federal taxes at the end of the year, and you're either gonna get a refund or you're gonna owe federal taxes depending on how you file. And that's it. You're not gonna have a state income tax to file at all. You're gonna have no state income tax to pay. So most people are gonna save a couple $1,000s a year just by not having the state income tax. Now, as far as the sales tax goes, Orlando does have a cheaper sales tax rate. It's only about 6.5% compared to here in Las Vegas, it's about 8.25. Currently, as of this video, June 2019. So overall, here's my conclusion for the video. I think that if you have a family and you're looking for better schools, you're looking for a better quality of life, I would highly recommend Orlando. If you're a single person in your 20s, your 30s, you are kind of at a stage where maybe you're just exploring new cities, maybe you want to have a little bit of fun. Las Vegas is a great place for that because of the entertainment and everything that the city offers here. You're gonna have friends who always want to fly here and visit you. So I think it just depends where you're at in your life. I would not personally want to raise a family here in Las Vegas, and I know my other videos, some of you have taken super offense to this and said that you raised kids here and they were fantastic, and that's great. I'm not saying that you can't raise a kid here, but what I'm saying is from my personal views and my personal stance and my personal experience living here in the city, I would not want to raise a family here. And again, that's just me. You know, you take what you want from this video, you take what you want from other people's videos, and you make your own conclusions and you make the decision that you feel is the best for you. That's the reason why I do these videos. I just do it to share my experience and, you know, give you guys just a different viewpoint that you can take and then draw a conclusion on what you think is the best for your situation. Or if you're just here because you enjoy the videos, that's cool. Smash the thumbs up button if you haven't. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. Make sure you click the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.